Trading 212 has a lot of ETFs and has a lot of Vanguard ETFs, so knowing which one to choose can be a very tiresome task, and it can be difficult for beginners to understand where to start from. Investing in ETFs is a great way for a beginner to start investing in the stock market and start to make their money work for them and to help them grow wealth over the long term. So in this video, I wanted to bring 3 Vanguard ETFs into your radar that are available on Trading 212, and if you like them, buy them at your own pleasure. Obviously, do your own research. So I'll briefly go through what the ETF is invested into, its regions, etc., its fees. If you do enjoy content like this, make sure to tap the like button, tap the subscribe button just to support the channel. And as always, I'm not a financial advisor, so do please take this video as entertainment purposes only, and make sure to do your own research as well. It's very important as an investor, no matter what type of investor you are. So before we dive into the 3 Vanguard ETFs on Trading 212, just giving you a brief of what an ETF is for those that don't understand what an ETF is. So an ETF, otherwise known as an exchange traded fund, is basically a type of investment where you can buy multiple companies in one go. So think of it as like basically buying a multi-pack of like a Snickers bar. Basically, when you buy that Snickers multi-pack, you are getting 3 Snickers bar or 4 or 5 or whatever the amount that is in there. And the ETF or exchange traded fund can be bought or sold on the stock market. So there is a difference between an ETF and an index fund. I won't really go into detail in this video. I have done an ETF in detailed video that you can check up. I'll link it above and in the description. Go and check that out, and I probably will do an ETF versus index fund video at another time. But some ETFs are a type of index fund. The reason why I say that is because some ETFs track what is called an index. An index is basically just a list of companies. In the UK, for example, we've got an index called the FTSE 100. That's just basically a list of the 100 most valuable companies in the UK, listed in the UK stock market. So with that explanation out of the way, let's dive right into the 3 best Vanguard ETFs that you can buy on Trading 212. So the first Vanguard ETF that I have on my list that you can buy on Trading 212 is what's called the Vanguard FTSE All World. Now this is an exchange traded fund that invests in various companies across the whole world, hence the title All World. And this includes companies like Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, I think too. And we'll see a little bit more details of the companies that they invest in. And if you want to find out what companies they do have the full list as information for you. But just before we go through all the information on the Vanguard website, if you do search for this ETF on Trading 212, 7 options are gonna come up, so it's gonna be very confusing. I want you to relax. They're not very different. The difference is that some of them are in different currencies or are trading on different stock exchanges. So some are trading in the UK, where we are on the London Stock Exchange. Some are trading throughout Europe. Also note that the FTSE All World, there is one called high dividend. That you don't want to ignore that. I'm not talking about the high dividend one. That's a completely different ETF, and maybe I'll speak about that in a different video. So the ones that you're gonna want is the VWRL. So make sure that you choose the one that says London Stock Exchange, because there's another one called VWRL, and this one basically gives you dividends received from any companies that are invested into on the fund. Or if you want the dividends reinvested, then you can get the VWRP of the fund. It's the same fund, it's just differences as to what they do. Your dividends either give it directly to you or they invest it back into the fund, so they just buy you more shares of the fund. So that's the difference between them. Nothing complicated so far. Okay, so let's take a look at what companies the FTSE All World invests into. Okay, so this is it, FTSE All World ETF. So this is the market value basically of the ETF. OCF is basically the fee that you'll be charged. It tells you the number of stocks in here. So 3,527 means it's very, very well diversified, which is great. And all this fund does is it looks at that index. So, okay, all these companies are part of this index. I'm going to invest in that. And that's what this does. But it looks like in 2020, it returned about 16%, which is good. So 56% of this fund is invested into America, 7.2 in Japan, 4.7 in China, 4.1 in Europe, 2.8 in France, and then I can let you go through the rest of it by yourself. But you can see it is invested in a lot of different companies, but the biggest proportion is US market, which is fair enough. It's one of the biggest markets in the world. It's invested in technology, consumer discretion, financials, industrial, healthcare, consumer staples, basic materials, and technology is at the top. Top holdings are well-known companies: Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Alphabet, Tesla, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, JP Morgan's, and then you have the percent that is invested into in this fund. So there's 3,000 companies that this is invested into. I'm not going to go through these 3,500. If you can in your own time, that would be great. It's going to take you a long time, but it's not necessarily needed because this list is going to change from time to time. New companies will probably form part of this, so it's likely that you're not going to have to keep up with this. All you know is that you're betting on the world economy growing. What I like about this fund is that it's very, very broad in its nature. It's very well diversified. It's investing in lots of companies. I mean, 3,000 companies across the world. It's low cost. It's very easy to buy. It's accessible on a platform like Trading 212, which has very, very minimal fees. So I feel like that is definitely a great ETF for any investor, beginners or even experienced investors. It's a nice hassle-free way to put your money into the stock market and let your money work for you over the long term. So let's dive into the second ETF on the list, the second Vanguard ETF that you can buy on Trading 212. So the second Vanguard ETF, and it's one of the most popular ETFs around currently, and that is what's called the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. Or on Trading 212, you just say Vanguard S&P 500. Some of them have ETF in the name. It doesn't really matter. But this is a fund that invests in 500 of the most valuable companies in the US listed on the US stock exchanges. Fund invests in companies like, again, Tesla, Microsoft, Apple. These companies dominate most indexes because they are some of the most valuable companies across the world. No matter what region you are investing in, these companies are some of the biggest. It's got quite a few options, just different currencies, but if you're from the UK, ideally you want to get it in pounds. So the two different ticker symbols just literally just a code for the fund. You know, everything in this day has got a code. If you buy a product, that's got a product code. So in this case, the fund codes, the two different fund codes that you're looking for here is VUSA, so VUSA, which is for distributing dividends to yourself, or VUAG, which is reinvesting your dividends to buy back into the fund. So those are the two ones that you'll probably be looking for on Trading 212 or other broker platforms that you do have. So let's dive right into the information for the Vanguard S&P 500. Okay, so Vanguard S&P 500 has got very, very low fees, 0.07, small amount. Right now you can buy it for £54. Then you've got the number of stocks here too, which is good. Basically seeks to track the performance of the Standard & Poor's 500 index, large size company stocks in the US. Okay, so here you'll see that the total returns for the S&P 500 is saying over the last 10 years, 245%. That's the benchmark. 5 years, 106%, 3 years, 55%, and then 1 year, 55% as well. And then in terms of exposure, highest is technology, healthcare, consumer discretion, financials, communication services, industrials, consumer staples, and then we've got consumer technology at about 26%, and then we've got energy, utilities, materials, real estate. And then the top 10 is very, very similar to the FTSE All World. So we've got Apple at the top, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Alphabet, which is Google, Tesla, Berkshire Hathaway, JP Morgan, Johnson & Johnson. And if you want to see the whole 500, you can just download and then you can review the whole spreadsheet. So what I like about this fund is that it invests in the 500 most valuable companies in the US. So essentially you are betting that the US economy, the US stock market over the long term is going to do very well, which is very likely. It's proven that it will do that based on the past. I know they say don't invest based on the past, but the past is all that we can go on. And the US, based on historical returns, has always done well. So this is why this fund has always been one of the most popular ones, and I feel like it's a good buy for you if you like the US stock market and you want to have a portion of your portfolio in the US stock market. The final Vanguard ETF on my list that you can buy on Trading 212 is what's called the Vanguard FTSE 100, which basically invests in 100 of the most valuable companies within the UK, listed on the UK stock markets. So it invests in companies like Unilever, AstraZeneca, HSBC, and companies like that. When searching for it on Trading 212, it's much simpler than the others. They only have two options. It's the same as we discussed before. They have an accumulating option, which is reinvesting your dividends, or distributing option, which is distributing the dividends to you. So let's dive right into the Vanguard website and let's look at what industries and what companies the Vanguard FTSE 100 invests into. So another small fee of 0.09 invested in 102 stocks. You can buy this fund for £31, so you can have one unit of this stock for £31. As it says here, it seeks to track the performance of the FTSE 100 index and is comprised of large size company stocks in the UK. Over the last 10 years, it's saying that the benchmark has returned 65%, 5 years 32%, 3 years 7%, and then 1 year 21%. And then in terms of where it's invested into, financials, consumer staples, industrials, consumer discretionary, basic materials, healthcare, energy, financials being the highest at 19.5%. Companies that they invested into, Unilever is the highest at 5.7%, AstraZeneca, HSBC Holdings, Diageo, GlaxoSmithKline, British American Tobacco, Rio Tinto, BP, Royal Dutch Shell. And again, if you want to download everything, you have your 101 total holdings that you can read through. What I do like about this fund as well, again, it's very well diversified. This is betting on the UK economy doing well, or the UK stock market doing well over the next 5 to 10 years. And I feel that it does have the opportunity to do well, because I feel like ever since we had the Brexit, now that it's in our rear view, the UK stock market has definitely suffered, and I feel like it's undervalued. And I feel at some point it will recover, it'll start doing well, start booming. So I feel like this fund definitely should form part of any diversified investor's portfolio. You should still have a little bit of UK stocks as part of your overall portfolio. So I feel like these three Vanguard funds are a good addition to any portfolio, beginner or experienced portfolio. Yes, these are available on Trading 212, but you potentially can get these on other online brokers if you don't have a Trading 212 account. Vanguard is very, very well known. It's very, very popular. It's cheap. It's accessible. And I feel like these funds are well diversified. It's hassle free and they are cheap. Those are three good criteria for you as an investor. You want to maximize your return as much as possible, right? You want to get and become wealthy, rich, whatever, in the years to come. Let me know in the comments below which funds that you may be buying, or if you already hold them. Disclaimer, I'm already invested in the FTSE 100. I've had that for a while. I've had that for nearly a year. Actually, I've actually been investing in it for longer than a year, about 4 years. I used to invest in it in Fidelity, then I started investing back into it in Trading 212. So if you've enjoyed this video, please do feel free to tap the like button. If I do get 20 likes on this video, I'll look to see if I can do a part 2 to this video. Also tap the subscribe button to support the channel. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and have a great weekend.